Hey guys, and welcome back. My name's Ryan, or RJR Productions, and today we're going to be making another original trilogy helmet. That being a Stormtrooper. Oh, sorry, wrong one. There we go, a Stormtrooper. And it's made of cardboard. You can literally find this in the garbage. There's no reason why you shouldn't be making this. Well, maybe if you don't have the skill to, or the commitment. But before I show you how I made this, I'd really appreciate it if you could like the video and subscribe, because this video took me 4 weeks and well over 30 hours to make, and it would really help me out if you do so. Alright, let's get into the build. As usual, all projects have humble beginnings, and this one is the goggles. This oval here will act as the main support as I work around and build the whole helmet. Then I attach the two pieces together and we can start working on the lower areas. Here I have the cheeks, the mouth, and the chin. I'm going to go ahead and cut them all out with my trusty X-Acto knife. Here's what that one chin piece looks like. You can see it's very complicated. I spent a couple hours templating it out so it would look right. And here's the rest of the pieces looking mighty fine as well. I have a couple registration marks here. You can see that the cheeks will line up in the exact same spot. Then I curved up that main cheek piece, and then I went ahead and glued it against the goggles, making that front facade more complete. Then I started gluing on the mouth, so here you can see me applying loads of glue. Make sure to reinforce your seams on the inside. That'll help it stay strong. Pretty much all I'm doing is gluing these little darts together to make up that nice cone shape that makes up the chin. I'm gonna go ahead and finish up the other side. And here it is, the finished chin piece. This back plate right here is the same height as the back of that front cheek piece, so I just continued it along. Now I'm going to start working on the lower cheeks. These pieces right here will house the whole side on top of them, so make sure they're attached very securely. If you're wondering what kind of glue I use also, it is just classic hot glue. And then I needed to add something to add some structural integrity to the whole sides, so I came up with this system to fill out the inside. Pretty much it's just a bunch of rings, here you can see labeled 1 through 7, that attach to the sides, and it'll pretty much hold on top of all those pieces. So pretty much what it is it's the rings, and then the base plate, and then you have the top plate that goes on top of it. And it's just really secure and makes it a whole lot stronger. Here's a closer look at that. All I'm going to be doing here is curving up the cardboard and then gluing those darts together. And here's what that side piece looks like all glued together. It might take a little bit of conforming with your hands to get it in the right shape, but if you find it in the right spot, it should attach very nicely, as you can see here. So now I'm going to go ahead and glue on both sides with a little bit of hot glue. Now it's time to work on that back lip. So here's a similar technique to the sides. You can see it continues from the 7, 8, 9, and then back down to 7. And in the beginning, the numbers 1 through 7 were different shapes, and it's continuing that same design, so the 7s are the same shape, the 8s are different, and then all the 9s are the same shape. So that's pretty much how I did it. It's very nice, and it makes it have a nice smooth transition from lip to lip, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. Here's the main back piece that fits over all of the whole back. You can see it's a very large piece, has a lot of darts in it, but once it's glued together, it will fit over it very nicely. I did have to do a little bit of adjusting on this, but I'm very happy with how it came out. You can think of these semicircle rings almost as a skeleton. If it weren't there, just like you, it wouldn't be very structurally sound. So when it's present, it will add a lot of strength and support to the whole piece. The way I like to attach these pieces is from top to bottom, and then once I get down to the bottom, I fill the inside gap with a lot of hot glue just to make sure that it stays in place. And here you can see at the back, I kind of had to shave off a little section because it was protruding too far, and I wasn't a really big fan of that, so I just cut it off and then put a little piece of thin cardboard over the top, and it looked very nice. Here's a little bevel detail that goes across the whole chin, so now I'm going to go ahead and attach it. Here you can see it's on one side. Pretty much what it does is just wraps from the top all the way down and through the chin. So now what I can do is go ahead and glue on the other side, and then I can start working on the middle of the chin and then work it down to the very bottom of it. Here you can see that side is all attached, and I'm going to create a nice piece to fill in this gap right here. So here's what that piece looks like. It's pretty much just kind of a little bump that I just took a piece of cardboard, shoved it in the gap, and then traced it out. And then I made this little log piece that kind of has two connecting pieces that go ahead and strap onto the sides. And when those glue together and once it's spackled, it should have a nice conforming shape that goes all the way around and connects very well to the sides and makes it look very organic and smooth, just like how it does in the movies. So now I'm gonna go ahead and glue these details on, and then I can start working on some of the other parts. Here you can see the under eyes are done, and I'm really happy with how that turned out. The same as the under chin, it looks very good, and I'm very happy. Also, I went ahead and covered up all the corrugation. If you don't know what corrugation is, it's pretty much the gaps in between the two top and bottom layers of cardboard. And when you cover it up, it makes it look a whole lot more finished. You don't have to do it, but if you do, it looks a lot better. Here I'm starting to work on the dome. So I started with the main structure, just filled it out to a shape that I thought would look right. Then I went with my Colt Classic dome pattern, which is 2.5 inches wide, and then a 1/2 inch in from the outside edge. There's another line, and then you cut through that gap until you reach that 1/2 inch in, and then you pretty much just make it however long you want. It doesn't matter how long it is. They can go ahead and glue it together. On the sides, it's actually not the same piece. It's just a normal 2-inch wide piece of cardboard that I just attach at the bottom and attach at the top, conforming to that dome plate that's kind of on the inside. Then I take that same exact piece and replicate it for all 4 corners. So pretty much you can see this sits right here. It just glues in right above that eye line, and then it'll attach at the top. So I go to the inside and then attach it, trace it, so I can trim out the top and kind of make it fit. Here you can see I have it attached on both of the front sides. And then we are left with a few remaining gaps. These are going to be very easy to fill in. Pretty much all you do is get a rectangle of cardboard, curl it up, and then hold it up to the gap. Take a pen and go to the inside of the helmet, and then trace out that shape. Take your scissors and then cut it out. And then you want to repeat that on all 4 of the shapes for the front half, and then repeat the same technique for the whole back half. Here you can see the whole dome is nice and finished, and I also went ahead and cut out those little dome channels. Pretty much all you need to do is look at a nice reference image, and you should be able to get that just fine. I also went ahead and cut out the whole bottom ring, and then added this nice little black bevel on the bottom. So now it's time to spackle. If you don't know what spackling is, it pretty much is just filling in all the gaps. I just use spackle, which is a wall filler, but you can actually use whatever you want. You can use Bondo, which is a car filler, or pretty much anything like wood filler. That will also work. You pretty much just want to take your finger and put it all the way around the whole thing. One thing that I actually have stopped doing lately is using water, because something that it can do is go through the plaster or the spackle and just completely soak the cardboard, and it'll ruin the texture. Also in the background, you might have noticed, I was watching a couple episodes of Clone Wars, greatest show of all time, and that is a good way to pass the time. Next up is sanding. Pretty much what I did is I went over the whole piece with my mouse sander with a 320 grit, and then I went over it with a 2000 grit after. But here it's looking a little rough, so I'm gonna go ahead and fill it in again and then sand it down. It's getting a little late, but I'm going ahead and working on it. You can see I just went ahead and applied a coat of filler primer, and the top dome definitely needs a little bit more work. So I went ahead and filled it in. Here you can see that second layer filled in, and pretty much what this does is fills in those gaps that you didn't get the first time around. And then when you go back and sand it down and then use filler primer on it, it'll be a whole lot smoother. Again, you don't have to do multiple coats. I just recommend it because it makes it a lot smoother. You can see here, I just sanded it down, so I'm gonna go paint the inner details. I went ahead and painted the sides blue, and the front mouth black, and then the whole bottom ring black. The sides are a gloss blue, and then the mouth and the bottom is a satin black. Pretty much what I'm doing is masking off where those stripes go, and then where that black band goes on the bottom, and then I masked off where the mouth goes. Here are also a couple more details. These just fill in those holes on the dome. And now I'm going to start working on those ear panels. I cut out this one main shape and then these two other sides. Then when they connect together, it creates this nice little beveled edge that fits around the dome very nicely. Spent a couple hours forming this to make sure it would look right. And here's what one of them looks like completed. So now I went ahead and finished up the other one. You want to add these caps to the ends of the tops, because pretty much what it does is create this nice little edge that looks very nice and is also accurate. So that's what I did. Looked at the reference image, and now I'm going to go ahead and spackle these. Here are what all those details are looking like. So pretty much this piece doesn't need any more work. It's just a band of cardboard. And these pieces need a little bit of touch-up work, but otherwise it is fine. You can see this is a mess, so I'm just going to paint over it with some acrylics. And then on the sides, these pieces just need a little bit of black, but other than that, it should be fine. And then these pieces need some silver on the fronts. So now I'm going to go ahead and paint those silver and then remove the masking tape. When removing the masking tape, I like to get my X-Acto knife under the edge and then peel it up. You can also use your fingernail, but that might peel up some of the paint, and this is a lot more precise, so I recommend doing it this way. You can also use a box cutter. I sometimes do that. I went ahead and glued on those ear pieces as well as the main front chin detail. So now all that's left is adding some mesh in the teeth, those two chin pieces, and then those two ear pieces, and then the one band that goes across the front. So I'm gonna go ahead and cut back to the photo shoot when it's done. Let's go.
Oh, it's tight.
Ugh. And that is it. That is how I made my cardboard Stormtrooper helmet. Again, this took me a really long time to make, so I'd really appreciate it if you could like the video, and maybe even consider subscribing. If you have any future suggestions for what you want to see me make next, please leave them in the comments down below, and I might even make your suggestion. But with all that said, thank you all for watching this video, and I'll see you all next time.